We're live now.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys. Oh man, we were just sitting here for 45 minutes in silence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you, as soon as 45 minutes is up,
Yeah.
we're going to be
This
live.
is it. Welcome
Yeah.
to Inside the Sulphurbath.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Episode 16 now, right?
Yes.
Super cool.
It's almost legal. We're getting there.
One of these days, the show will be able to vote.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how are you guys? What's going on this week? Well, the three of us are back together again.
I
That's
know.
good.
What has gone on?
A lot has gone on, but just
Yeah.
before we get into what has gone on,
You want to know what's continuously
What's
happening,
going on?
What is happening now and will continue to happen?
yeah, what will always continue to happen? What is going on always?
Banksy's out and about in
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Williamsburg and
Yep.
Bushwick.
Banksy's doing a residency, quote unquote, Williamsburg and Bushwick. The artwork that he's putting up is really awesome.
Yeah.
And it's very intriguing. Every piece that he's done has like a phone number you can call stenciled. And then you call the phone number and it's like you're at a gallery in a museum and like some music starts and somebody, possibly Banksy, is talking to you, describing the work that you're looking at.
Kind of like the headphones they give you in the museum with the tape player.
Right.
Or a CD player. Or
But out in the
MP3
street,
player.
like the museum, his
Yeah.
museum, his gallery is literally the street, but you still get all of the accoutrements of a nice gallery. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So everybody's on the lookout for him. The two things I've heard in Bushwick lately are, oh my God, Banksy's doing a residency around Williamsburg and Bushwick, and oh my God, Ben Stiller's shooting a movie
Oh, yeah?
in Bushwick. And I don't know. Those two things are happening.
That makes
so.
sense. I saw those trucks out. You know, the ones they set up by
Mhm.
sets.
Up
Sitting
near
out
Wyckoff
on,
somewhere or something like
yeah,
that, right?
They were like on Star or something.
Yeah, I think they're
What are
shooting
you
at a
doing
big
here?
storage facility up there.
Yeah.
So, not nearly as cool as Banksy being in town, like running around.
If you notice, I'm suspiciously silent on the subject.
Yeah, I did notice that. So
I might be Banksy, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But I could be. You
but
don't
he,
know.
He could be. You don't know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Banksy want to plant the seed of doubt in somebody's mind?
Maybe I would. Oops.
Oops.
No.
Little do they know
It's not
Banksy's
me.
like
It's not
400
me.
different people.
Yeah.
No, it's not me.
No,
Yeah, man.
it's very interesting though that Banksy has built up such kind of like a legendary street artist thing, and like
Yeah.
there's so much mystery behind what he does, and the
Well,
film that he made. And
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's most likely a collective
mhm.
group effort, you know.
You think it is?
Yeah, he can't be at an all one.
Otherwise,
all
it's
those
the
places
richest
at the
person in the world that gets to travel
Yeah.
around and buy
I
paint
have to
wherever they want.
believe it's a collective.
Yeah.
I can't. Nobody can be that rich.
Yeah, but before he made the movie, how did he make money? Did he make money?
Well, let's start with the question: who the fuck is Banksy? I mean, that's, like I have no idea about how he made money or any
Yeah.
of that stuff. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Well,
like,
I mean,
it's
for
such a mystery.
For a long time, he was just it was street art. He was just doing stuff, and it was just the name. I don't think he ever spoke to anyone. And the first time
Oh, yeah?
I think I heard him speak was when they put him in that movie.
hmm But the movie itself
Yeah.
could be one of his street art pieces in some way. I mean,
Oh, it
not to
definitely is.
discredit like the director and the other artist that's in it, but everybody talks about that after they see that. It's like, is this a conceptual put on, or
Yeah.
am I getting the authentic story of what this scene is really of what's happening? You know,
I believe the first one
Mhm.
actually.
and it makes it all that much more intriguing. I think so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you recontextualize it from the point of view, like, is this real? Is this not? Is this intended? Is it not?
Mhm.
Then it just adds an extra layer to it, and it's kind of interesting. And that's kind of what that whole the whole anonymity thing lends
Yeah.
itself well to. It's just the mystery of it makes it that much more interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, some street art is just okay, that's
Stuff.
obvious, but not only is it for the most part interesting, but it's added layer of interest based on the anonymity. You're like, is that or is that not authentic
Mhm.
piece? Is that a real one? All that.
Right.
Along with the political aspect of it too. Right?
Yeah.
It's like Anonymous or something in that he's making a political statement, he's breaking the law doing it, and the establishment definitely, they rack up. I remember when I was young and growing up in LA, and the big graffiti artist in LA at the time was Chaka. I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
Chaka, right?
Yeah,
And
I've heard Chaka.
he was like the first one that went down as causing like over $1 million worth of damage to public property. And I remember that was a big deal. That was like a lot of street cred.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Banksy and this kind of new conceptual version of it is really questioning, like, well, what do you mean damage?
Well, yeah,
You know.
and it's so accepted by the mainstream
Yeah.
Mhm.
that, I mean, one of his pieces was hanging up his own work in a museum
Right, that's
and
awesome.
seeing how long it would take to be caught.
Mhm.
And then one museum actually realized it was one of his pieces and left it up.
yeah.
And that's how you know he's
How
broken
lucky were
through.
we that
He's
he
broken
came-
through,
yeah.
though. Like, if
Right.
an actual museum is like, we are way lucky
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the artist actually came in and put this up.
We don't care what was.
And
there
here's our
before.
sleeping security guard. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty awesome.
Who's in on it?
Right.
Who's Banksy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and the revolutionary aspect of it, going out and like damaging establishment property damage. Again, the term damage, but
Yeah.
and then you see the whole in here in Bushwick, you see gentrification a lot, and you see there's this whole other side to it where if a known street artist will put up something on a building that is near condemned in Bushwick, like the landlord will raise the rents, and there's that issue
Oh,
that
yeah.
not specifically because of a piece of graffiti on there, but when that happens, like, oh, this is a happening neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And there is a direct link between that and in gentrification and rent prices going up and stuff like that. And so then there was also a couple of years back, there was this whole anti-art movement against that kind of stuff. And there was somebody running around Bushwick and Williamsburg. They were called the Splasher, do you guys know? And then like all of the street art that was around, you would see dozens of pieces that had just been splashed by like pink or purple paint or something
yeah.
randomly, like ruining the art, making this statement like, well, is this exactly anti-art or what exactly are you saying? You're saying that they turn into the same thing that they're speaking out against revolutionary-wise from an art perspective. And so you're splashing it, but at the same time, like, you're splashing it, and then there you are as the splasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's and then when that happened, I remember thinking, and whoever they were, it was a mystery who that was or whether they were a collective or whatever. But I remember thinking, like, okay, so the second you do it, you become the same thing also. So it could just recur forever. Like, who's, the person that put it up
was
there
it
originally was like, I'm
specifically
working on the
stated?
street.
That they were doing that to ruin the art.
I think they did have a manifesto. Yeah, this group
Oh, yeah?
that I think they. I don't have my story straight, and it'd be great actually if somebody's watching. There's some connection. Maybe we should try to get some of them on and
Yeah.
put blurry face and like,
Yeah.
like tell us the story of what actually happened. But I think they did. There was a thing where they sent a manifesto to a local paper or something, and it was filled with. I don't know how I would describe it. Manifesto type writing
lingo.
and. But it was abstract too. I forget where I saw it, but it was published online somewhere.
But they, as far as you recall, they were against the art that was there. They were opposed to it.
Yeah, that's exactly the question you bring up that I would want to ask them. Like, so are you opposed to this art, and if so, why? Or is this just kind of like a mode of operation for you to do your thing? Which is, that's the classical definition of anti-art. So, but that just means you're going in there and you're destroying it, and you're making
Yeah.
this statement.
Arguably, just art in itself, because you are making a specific statement in your media, which is paint.
Of
splashed
course,
on a
but then
wall.
when you're talking about covering up or erasing or destroying somebody else's artwork, then
And then you can
it
also talk
brings
about
up an
other
interesting
artists who
story.
cover
you know?
their own artwork.
Have you ever seen
Well-
there's one of my favorite movies of all time is The Horse's Mouth. Alec Guinness movie where he plays like a gruff painter.
Yeah.
And it's really, he wrote the screenplay too. It's great. He's just like he's just a jerk.
Just total fictional
Yeah,
painter.
yeah, exactly. His name's Gully Jimson, and he's like, man, he talks like this. And he's like a really poor, downtrodden guy, And then, but the upper class elite love his work. Like, he's just amazing, but he hates his own work, and he's so self-critical. And he tricks these people into giving him a wall in their house to paint a mural. And he goes in, and he's like, "This wall, I've dreamed of this wall. This is the wall." And they're like, "Oh, great! We're gonna be gone for a week. You go paint it, and we'll come back. It'll be great." And he just destroys their house just trying to paint this wall. And he does this amazing painting on the wall. And then the family comes home, and they see it. And he just goes, "It's not what I intended," but it's amazing. But it's like the artist's point of view, and he's just like, "Fuck it."
Interesting.
You know, it's terrible. Like, and then at the end, spoiler, he paints this giant wall mural, and then blows up the building. So the artwork only existed for a moment. But he was the one who destroyed it because it was a condemned building. But he painted a beautiful mural on the side because he knew it was going to be damaged and destroyed and just exist for a moment.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's like the Western modern art version of like the Kalachakra with the Buddhist Tibetan monks making a mandala and then destroying it, life, death, and rebirth. And
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
super cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I always love those. I mean, it's just so gorgeous and then it's just gone.
Yeah. Sweep it up. And
Yeah.
it takes the monks days to get it together.
Yeah,
and they
that's
sweep
why-
it away.
Yeah, that's why I like when you go to like a live performance of something, you see it. It's
Right.
it's a moment. It's something that's happening between you and the artist that's performing. And put your phone away, put your camera away, just experience it, and you can talk about it later.
Yeah.
No one else experienced it at the time.
Well, that brings up the whole other thing of, the mobile devices and everybody wanting to
Yeah.
take a picture of everything. And I
Yeah.
recently heard some celebrity talking about like, oh, it used to be back in the day, people would come up, "Can I take a picture?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, if you got a camera on you, sure."
Yeah.
But now everybody has a camera.
Yes.
So
and it
it's
will
like
not
this
stop.
total exploitative thing that's happening.
Well, it's like it's weird. Does the person who views the work, why do they feel like they are now the documenter?
Right.
Like I can't experience this as a person. I have to document that this
Right.
happened.
Well, I understand that
for
too. Though. I
later.
mean, they're there to document their experience of being there. I mean, like,
Yeah.
this is when I was there, and then that photo and that video that everybody takes with their iPhone, it does bring all that back.
Yeah.
And so there's something valid there, but at the same time, we were talking recently something about. I think we were talking about seeing the Mona Lisa. I was talking to Dylan and Val about like going and seeing the Mona Lisa, and there's flash photography, and it's just flashes constantly, and you can't get to it, and you can't see it, and everybody's letting their phone is in the way, experiencing it. And how silly that can seem,
Right.
but at the same time, it does make sense to me because people use their phone not so they can see it later,
But you can
but so that they
always
can
see it later.
document that they did it, that
I-
it was
but
part
you
of
can-
their life.
I
But
think
you can
that's
always
very-
see a better photo later. Someone
in a
else.
book.
It's documented.
Yeah, but not your photo. You're not going to be able to see, oh, as crappy as it is, like, oh, yeah, I remember when I was there. And how we record memory. You see that photo, and maybe you remember, like, how it smelled in the gallery. Or,
Right.
there's certain things that will happen, in our brain when we see that,
Yeah.
that maybe we're not even aware of. That we'll
You've got 5 tape
recall.
recorders going at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And use them.
And the gallery where the Mona Lisa is hanging, it does, if I recall correctly, smell like an art gallery that has been cleaned with
Oh, my
cleansers.
God.
And,
Yeah. It's a
Smell it now.
The sterilization. I love
yeah,
it.
sterilization. A good art gallery. That's great. So what else has been going on this week? We did the show last night at Mama Joy's, right?
Yeah, it was a hit.
It was really great. Yeah, I gotta give it up to Streets Laredo. They were amazing. Family Room also played. Those guys were great.
Mhm.
We're gonna talk to them about being on the show in the future. Who else played last night? Ramblin' Andy played.
Brandon White.
Brandon White did this amazing somber set, just electric guitar, and we played.
Mhm.
Greg, myself, Fumio, and Nick. We played as Wage Workers,
Cool.
and I think the place was hopping. Right? It was like
It was.
was slam-packed.
the most people I've ever seen in that location before.
I think it was
which is a good
safely
thing.
also the most people I've ever seen in an audience when I was performing in any different group. So
Oh,
that was pretty cool. Just
That's
to be
pretty
like
cool. Yeah.
packed house and like everybody seemed to be into it, and I'm
That's
just gonna
awesome.
say that now to cement it. Everybody was totally into it.
Everybody
and
seemed to be into it. 'cause
people were
that's
like,
what I
"Yeah."
wanted to see.
people were holding up
Yeah.
their cell phones like, yeah.
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 Don't show me any videos of it. I'm just in my head. It was
Yeah,
like,
don't-
So what about those
Yeah.
tape recorders we got?
yeah.
the 5 tape recorders that remember everything.
The way you want to.
And it was kind of a legendary, crazy party night for a lot of people too, right?
was.
Like it went way late into the evening. It was one of those like waking up the next morning / afternoon
Going to sleep the next morning.
and saying,
/
"Man,
afternoon.
we're so broke and this hurts so much, but wow, how much fun is Bushwick? It's fucking
Yeah.
amazing."
Yeah, I agree. I've been feeling that a lot more recently.
Mm-hmm.
Bushwick is a fun place.
And so just to clear
knew
it
it
up for
was.
everybody at home, we're talking about the music night every Friday night at Mama Joy's, 1084 Flushing. And the people that work there are all really great. They have really good craft beer. They have really great bar food. And then every Friday night
do.
we've been playing live music there. So we definitely recommend.
Can
the
I stress
next
they
few
have
nights will
really
be really
great bar
great too. The
food?
next few Friday nights. What's that?
They do have really great bar food.
Yeah.
So
Thing
for
about
no
bar
other
food
reason.
is it's always amazing. I can't put two and two together and figure out why. But
Oh no, I have to disagree. I've been to plenty of bars that have some really.
you
just
ate it at the wrong
dismal
time. I would
food.
say.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you get those like personal pizzas sometimes. And
Yeah, but did the guy say, "Hey, wait a minute, are you ready for this? Like, maybe you should have another drink
Yeah.
first, and then."
You're like,
and,
this personal pizza doesn't have my name on it. This could be for anybody.
Sometimes it's just such a joy. I remember being once at Pete's Candy Store, which came up recently, right? Because Ben Shapiro does the open mic night there,
Yeah.
and Ben was a previous guest and performer. He was really great. But I remember specific moments at Pete's and just being like hammered, and then suddenly you see a sign that's like paninis for $8, and it's like that eye-opening, like, wow, a bar with food. Who invented that? That's the best thing ever.
Here's my money.
Yes. I want to make sure tonight you get me drunk and you feed me, and I'll be here all night long. That's great.
yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun last night at that place. And
Cool,
yeah,
man.
But
very
that
cool.
always does get me down when I'm at a bar and I'm like, man, I'm super hungry.
Mhm.
I'd love to stay here.
Mhm.
And they have like
Kitchen's closed, guys.
Yeah.
peanuts. Yeah.
And then they're
They
always
closed at,
yeah,
like,
so they're always
7
upset
PM
too
that
at the end of the
day.
Yeah.
night. Like,
Kitchen's
I've been trying to close
closed.
this kitchen for 4 hours, and you want more food now, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
and
like,
that's
"Oh,
the
I
food
just
you
asked."
want.
Yeah.
That's the food you want.
Like, can I
that
just have
begrudging,
whatever's
like,
left in the pan? Scrape it together.
angry food.
Um,
Yeah.
Also, it should be mentioned we're doing live corrections and retractions on the show now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, live, totally
Okay.
live.
All
and
right.
so what I should say is that panini in Italiano, is already plural. So if you say paninis like I did 2 minutes ago, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
What do you say?
Oh,
you
so
order
it
a
is-
panini?
Panino.
That's what I was
Panino.
gonna
Yeah, but everyone
say.
says, hey, you want a panini? That's totally wrong, actually.
Oh,
Panini
so you,
is
you
plural.
order panini,
Yeah.
but you can order a panino.
Molto panini. Give me a lot of sandwiches, man.
Oh, man.
Mm.
It's true. And panino is just give me a sandwich, Give
Oh,
me
wait,
one
just
sandwich.
Yeah,
a sandwich?
you
It's nothing like, it's not like the special type of sandwich?
Yeah, I think it's originally like a regional thing, and it's a style of, it's like,
Oh, so it's not like a translation for sandwich. It's just their version of sandwich.
oh, now you've got me. Bernardino would
I
be
feel like it
really
was
furious
invented
with me
here
for
in
not
Bar
knowing.
Food is really great.
Yeah,
I
right? It was
agree.
invented here. They
Yeah.
just pick an
Yeah.
Italian word. It
Yeah.
probably means like,
He's a hot squeeze.
yeah, hot squeeze. Yeah. So, but, instant live retractions. So from now on, when you guys catch that what I've said is wrong, I don't want you to go right by it like you've done on every other episode.
We'll just get right in your face, man.
I want you to get right by it. It's like, wait, Mike,
Wrong.
you're totally wrong again. And, I have no problem with it. I've been wrong so many times, I'm really used to it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
You gotta
completely
perfect it.
adjusted to being corrected. Anybody can correct me anytime you guys want, But yeah, so Mama Joy's, that was really great. And, that's the thing. Bushwick is there's so much to do all the time in Bushwick now. And I feel like when I first moved here 7-8 years ago, there was a lot of like, let's go to Williamsburg and East Village, and everybody wanted to go to Lower East Side.
Yeah.
And it seems like now, like, people from Manhattan are coming out here, and it's, it's
But
obviously
with
there's so many
much-
bars, and
With so much happening, it'd be great if there was a place where we could find out about most of it.
it would. I think there is such a place. There is such a place that reports on such things.
Cool.
And that leads us, that's a great segue, thank you, Greg, to
You're
our
welcome.
first segment. We're going to invite Katarina out. Katarina is the editor at Bushwick Daily. It's a really great blog that has all kinds about what's happening and what's going on. Katarina is basically an independent journalist that is going to come on the show and give us a breakdown as to what Bushwick Daily is. So, Katarina Hibenova, please join us. How are you tonight?
Hi, everybody. I'm great. How are
Cool.
you guys?
We're doing really well. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 16 now.
Oh, wow.
And so we've
Good to
kind of
hear.
crossed that curve of like, are we going to keep doing this? And now we're pretty set that, we're doing this every week.
You
so.
have to?
We have to right now. It's going. People expect it.
We've already started the show, Mike.
Yeah, we're not going to pull the plug
Stop it.
This is
now.
episode 16.
Right in the middle of the episode. But, when I was talking to you earlier about Bushwick Daily and looking into it and reading the blog earlier today, I just kept thinking, like, what a good example for us even, just to something that's kind of like this grassroots movement. You're following your passion, something you like doing.
Yeah.
And people responded to it, and you were basically, like us, disseminating information.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just events. Again, like our show, it's not just art. That sounds bad because I love the art and all the artists and musicians we've had, but it's not just those creative segments. We have all these great cerebral sections that we talk about, different issues in government and stuff. But and I see that in Bushwick Daily too, and I think it's really cool what you're doing, and the variation
Thanks.
of what you represent is really great.
Thank you.
So can you give us a little bit of a background, how Bushwick Daily started and how you actually started getting into that?
Yeah, it's essentially a very long story, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet.
Sorry, the mics aren't turned up too much.
Sure.
Make
But
sure.
the whole thing started essentially when I moved to Bushwick 3 years ago, or a little bit over 3 years. And, I moved to the neighborhood and I was like really fascinated by everything that was going on. It was very surprising to me because in the beginning I wanted to move to Williamsburg, where I knew it already a little bit more, and I just couldn't afford it. So I ended up in Bushwick with my roommate at the time, and we were like, oh my god, this is so scary. And like we were like finding these weird things on like pavements. Like one time I found like a baby duck was dead and stuff like that, like weird shit on like the sidewalks essentially. But yeah, that's not what I meant to talk about. But then I was very surprised by like this amazing culture that was happening here, and by like this beautiful mixture of like this authentic culture of Bushwick and the arrival of artists, and like how everybody was doing something really amazing. So I was very fascinated and inspired by all that. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I was like, wow, I'm not the weirdest. Good.
Cool.
These people are even weirder. Good thing. Very happy here. So I started a blog originally as a photo blog very early on after I moved here. And then I started to interview people because I was just like so inspired by everyone, as I mentioned before. And then, more people started to join me, and I just kept on doing it. And also like other contributors were contributing, and 3 years later, I'm still doing it. So
That's great. And do you
Yeah.
do you remember like the early photo blogs you were doing? Do you remember like the first post that Bushwick Daily did?
I actually do, because the first Bushwick Daily is still on. You can guys check it out, bushwickdaily.wordpress.com. Later on, we migrated to like self-hosted WordPress, so we like continued elsewhere and we like totally changed it, but like that first thing stayed there, and it's like a very basic theme, and it was just a photo blog, so I would like put up one photo every day, thus Bushwick Daily, So the first photo was actually like this picture of a sign that was saying open. It's actually here at Urban Jungle, just like open, and with like some lofts in the background, and it was very philosophical title that came along with it, and it was like, we are open-minded, are you?
Oh, wow.
That was the first post. Yeah.
Very cool. What a great way to
Thank
get a kick started, right?
Thanks.
And you were doing a photo every single day.
Yes.
Okay. And would you go out that day and take the photo that day itself, or would you take a bunch? And
Sometimes it would like vary, but it was like something for me that I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a photo every day, something that is really like worth showing. It's sort of like one of those exercises when you want to do something, but you don't really have any like jobs or gigs or assignments, but you really want to get into it, so you just start doing it.
That sounds
It's-
familiar. That's what,
You
that's
just
what we're
start doing it,
right
and
now.
the next
Yeah.
thing you know, it's like you're doing it.
Yeah, right.
So
Super cool.
yeah, you like fake it until you become it, essentially.
And we were talking earlier. You mentioned something about somebody calling you a journalist, and maybe you thought that maybe they shouldn't have said that. But you are an independent journalist, and what you're doing is
guess
actually
so.
you're sharing. Like I was saying, it's more than just one branch. I've seen blogs that are like, oh, this is the cool rock shows in Bushwick, or I've seen the things that are dedicated to a very specialized niche. But I feel like Bushwick Daily is really expansive. And so,
Yeah.
do you think that that's helped lead to the success that you're seeing with Bushwick Daily?
Probably, I guess so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really following what I'm really interested in.
Mhm.
And I guess the people who are working with me, they are sort of like my kind of people. So we're all interested in these kind of things. And I would say that we are probably slowly maybe expanding, but not even so much. It's not really even my goal to expand to the width, more like to quality,
Yeah, cool. Great.
But I guess, yeah, because the thing is that I was never really interested in only one thing. Like, I was never interested only in art or only in music or in one thing. And I was even sometimes desperate about it. I was like, I don't have my box. Damn, I don't like just one thing, you know? But I'm just like really interested in like a variety of things and like, you know, like looking at things more maybe from above, you know, like seeing the whole picture, how it all comes together. So we're trying to like show people the real picture of Bushwick, like with all the crazy art and all the parties and all music and all theater, and then of course you have to talk about political issues as well, because that's like so important, and that's really influencing what's happening and what's going to happen to people who are here. And so, you know, it's like you just can't say no to some things. So I guess that's why it's really wide.
And you said it's only been 3 years that you've been living here, right?
Yes.
So in that amount of time, you've covered quite a lot, and so that's kind of surprised me to find out that it had only been 3 years since you had developed this.
I really started almost like on day one when I moved here. It wasn't, my intention wasn't like, oh, I'm going to tell you what is Bushwick about. I just was super excited, and I wanted to put up the photos that I took. So that's why I started it.
Very cool. And so you're from Slovakia, right?
That is correct.
And Slovakia that you would compare to Bushwick? I mean, when you came here and you saw this, it sounds like you were experiencing something new, but would you have something similar that you would compare? Is there a neighborhood, a city somewhere?
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I mean, you can probably experience smaller communities that like emerge like somewhere where there is like some fertile soil for these kind of things, you know? But I wouldn't say that there is like a neighborhood like Bushwick. But I remember when I was at high school you know, I'm from like a mountain town, 50,000 people there, and we had like we had a bookstore, and the owner of the bookstore, he was the son of like a famous Slovak writer, and he was really into culture, and he was like putting up like movies and readings, and I was like reading my first poetry when I was 13, and it was very like emotional and dark and like all those things, you know. So like there was like this little community that I remember, and like some people came out of there from around that bookstore who eventually became really successful, like directors, and like, you know, people had like little bit of something. So I would say like, you know, like little communities here and there popping up. But as far as I know, the guy's not doing it anymore in my hometown. So
maybe he's on his way to move to Bushwick?
maybe.
Very cool.
So, you know.
And do you guys have like an office that you all get together to, and like how does it go down at Bushwick Daily? Do you guys is everything email or?
Our office is at Tandem.
Okay,
no,
cool.
not really.
Awesome.
No, we don't have an office, which is something that I was thinking about for the longest time. Of course, I would love to have a space where we could all meet, but at the moment it's not practical at all because nobody's working full time on the blog besides me. And everybody else, including the 5 editors and like 30 contributors, everybody has a day job or is like doing a million things, and you know, so we're just like putting it together through email. We have a really lively Google group. There's like 50 people on the Google group.
Oh, cool.
And we always like discuss something. Like you guys were like now talking about Banksy, so it was really funny because just the night before Banksy emerged in Bushwick, I like sent a message to the Google group. It was like, guys, Banksy's doing residency in New York. I have a gut feeling he's gonna show up in Bushwick like soon. If you see it, call me, even if it's 3 a.m.
Yeah,
and we
cool.
start to talk about Banksy, like really long thread. And the next morning, you know, I get phone calls from my like contributors like, Banksy's in Bushwick. It was so cool. And then we started to discuss whether, you know, whether the piece that he put up here was like cool enough or whether it was just like a cop-out, you know, and stuff like that.
I saw his webpage where he's promoting it. Which piece was the one that was put here in Bushwick?
The Bushwick one was Occupy, the musical.
The musical,
that was on Stanwix and Melrose. So that was the Bushwick one. It got painted over like right away, which is, it's also kind of funny. It was like, because the Occupy sign has been there forever.
I've seen it without Banksy's musical, yeah.
Yeah, and then it got painted over. So it's almost like, hey, Banksy, isn't it you who is like painting it over right away in order to like create like a little bit of like some media?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, maybe not. So, you know, but what I'm trying to say is that we have this really lively Google group where like a lot of articles are created just by us talking to each other and like.
I love the idea that you guys are like a think tank, and you just like
Essentially,
you work
it's
together,
really
all these
cute.
minds working together.
And sometimes I even feel guilty because all these people, they have like full-time jobs and they are really on it. Like
Yeah.
they are obsessed. Like we always talk. Like I'm like, guys, you're at work.
Yeah,
you know, so
that's a great sign.
yeah, it's awesome. I really love
Can
it.
I ask a little bit about how you envision the future of Bushwick Daily? I mean, what would you like it to become, or how long would you want to sustain it? Do you have any plans like in the future?
It's such an exciting question. I don't even know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely now only much more awesome. That's my universal answer to that.
Okay, cool.
But we don't want to go into print or anything like that. I've had questions like that. I don't really think it's necessary at all.
Mhm.
I think that online thing is really great, and
Mhm.
that's where the future is just gonna go. I really want to move to like videos, and I see like 50% of our stories being just video stories because it's like so much cooler. It's like
Yeah.
it allows you to experience things so much more. The thing is that right now what we're doing, we're really like trying to find like the template for the video story so that they are very engaging, and that it's something that you actually want to watch. And so we're like finding the right mixture, the recipe.
Cool.
So I think that's what's gonna happen, and it's very exciting.
That is exciting, and we're totally on the same page. That's kind of what we're going through with this too, and it brings up all these questions about, okay, you're making content and distributing that, and how you're going to record it, and what form, and archives, and all of that.
Exactly.
And I wish you guys all the best of luck. I think that's it's going to be great. Another year or less, hopefully, we'll be.
Yeah, we already
seeing
published like a
some
bunch of
videos?
video stories, and I hope
Okay.
we're gonna do even more.
Now, did you say about half of them are now, or you
No,
envision that
that's
in
the
the
vision.
future?
That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
vision.
yeah,
That's the vision. Right now, it's like one per week,
Mhm.
like threw in, and
And do you work with like other journalists that are out on the street with cameras, or do you send people out on missions from Bushwick
Well,
Daily, or?
it's like right now I'm collaborating with a couple of videographers who are like really awesome and have really good experience, and have a lot to say about that. So we're now like talking, sometimes they go shoot something, sometimes I shoot something, and then we like chop it up, and then I like discuss it with them. So what do you think? Like, how do you like it? And we change it, right now we don't have that many people who would go and shoot, and so it's most like me and some people who are like
Okay.
working on that.
Cool. Which I'm sure, with today's technology and stuff, you can get so much done with just a few people committed.
Yeah, totally.
And can you share with us, is there anything that's been like mind-blowing awesome that like, what's the coolest thing right now that you would want to share from Bushwick Daily?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know you guys have so much that's going on there, but is there something specific going on that you would want to promote, or anything cool coming up for you guys? Or?
We have a CMJ show coming up.
Oh, yeah?
That is going to be really great, and it's going to be at Bizarre on October 18th or 17th. You guys should check.
Yeah. So
But,
at Bizarre,
it's
October
Thursday.
17th or 18th?
It's on Thursday.
Okay.
And we'll have like a bunch of electronic bands like Psychic Twin, and we're collaborating with Sky Report and Super Crash Studios on that.
Oh, cool.
And we will have like this funky like live tattoo sessions and like gift bags, and it's all gonna be a little bit like leather and tattoos, and
Very cool.
like a little bit like on
That
that,
sounds
side,
fun.
and burlesque and whatnot. So
Great. And so are you organizing the event as well? This was your Bushwick Daily just decided to do this, or is this something
Yeah,
you're collaborating on?
we were like talking. It was mostly our music editor Maria Gote and Jenna Aranda, who she's like in music production, and they're always like, let's do a music event. So they
Cool.
were really like talking about this, and then Sky Report, they like also wanted to do something at Bizarre, and we're like, hey guys, let's just do it together. It's gonna be so much more fun. So it like somehow came together.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'll definitely look into that.
Thanks.
And
cool.
so that's going to be part of the CMJ festival?
Not official. It's an unofficial show.
Mm-hmm. Cool. But so much happens during that too, right? A lot of what we're talking about is people getting together through the arts and events and things that are happening locally, but then something like CMJ rolls into town, and then suddenly you get musicians from all over the world, really,
It's gonna be insane.
and it's super cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
So can you give us it's the webpage again, and it's
So the webpage is www.bushwickdaily.com.
you say it so nicely.
World Wide Web.
That would be the actual corporate recording. the commercial, and everything.
Visit our site.
Also, we have a Paradise Club who was on our show before. They're good friends of mine, Eric and Kyle.
Yeah,
That's
so
when
they are my friends as well.
cool, and that's how I actually was introduced to you. And then a couple weeks back, I talked to Lucia. I'm not sure. Lucia Rollo
from Darkroom.
from the dark room downstairs.
Oh,
and
nice, yeah.
she
Lucia is
mentioned, she
also
was
my
like, hey,
friend.
you should reach out to Katarina and try to get her on your show.
Oh, that's nice of her.
And I said, oh my gosh, that's an amazing idea. I should. And so we were so pleased that you responded to us. Very cool.
Thanks, Lucia.
Yeah. And yes, we hope to see you at many other events and, come back and hang out with us at the Sulphurbath. It's been really cool talking to you. And
Thank you guys for having me.
just last minute before we split, is there anything else that I'm missing or that you guys want to ask or that
Not that I think of.
Yeah. We're good.
anything else that's coming up?
I don't know. Oh.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
was
Yeah,
an
there's
improper
a lot of-
aside.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of awesome things. I don't know. I don't know.
Check
every
out
day
Bushwick
is-
Daily. That's what
Every
we're
day
saying.
is exciting.
And that's the
especially in
thing
Bushwick.
is it's one of those websites that you can be like, oh, it's another day. Like you're daily, you're current, and there's
That's the
all
thing,
kinds
yeah.
of cool events. So it's one of those things people will get up in the morning and be like, oh, what's going on Bushwick Daily today? And I think
they
that's
do
super
it,
cool.
and I'm like, it's like so endearing to me. I'm like, people are telling me that they really read it daily, and I'm like, it's like so nice. It's very nice.
That's
it's
very cool.
rewarding.
Well, the interesting content, you have good content in there, and people will be looking
Thanks.
at it. And so many people will get up in the morning and look at the New York Times or the Post or something, and it's like, what's this information you're getting? And there's so many really smart, talented, creative people that are just like, hey, we can do an internet page. What do they call them? We could do a web page tomorrow.
Internet site.
Yeah.
and then start building towards something, and then here you are, and you're like a bona fide journalist, and you're on our show, and we're really pleased and honored to have you here. Thank you for coming on the show. So
Thanks for having me.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, Katarina. Very cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Very cool. So Bushwick Daily, I want everybody to go and check that out
BushwickDaily.com.
Every day.
every day.
Daily.
Yeah,
all
Bushwick
day.
Daily.
I
Daily.
think that was a really great segment because we are here in Bushwick, and we have been in several years. And there's so many of these events that we go to, and a friend's band, or a lot of gallery showings, Bushwick Open Studios that happens every summer. I've been here long enough now that I feel like there's connections between all the shows, between all the galleries, and you start seeing people on the street.
You mean people?
Yeah, yeah. Like they should make some sort of like internet webpage where people could connect and wait.
They should figure out a way where we can put Facebook in real life.
What?
We can, like, talk to people and stuff.
We'll call it Life Face.
Just call it life, man.
Call it Face Life.
Yeah.
But and just a sense of just
like
the
that.
Bushwick. Yeah. Thumb. Yeah.
Great.
But just that sense of the community that is in Bushwick, and you move here and you hang out here, and it's like, well, what's the community that's going on here? And like Katarina was, more than just what people are first to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's so much
absolutely.
going on here in Bushwick. I've stumbled across, somebody's jewelry shop, or that whether it's the tortilla factory, or you mentioned Tandem, like it's all these
Yeah.
really great places in Bushwick, and so many people onto so many different things. It's really
Well,
great.
there's so much stuff and there's so many people, but there's so many things that are happening behind walls that we can't see through.
Yeah.
So you can't
That would
just
blow
walk
your
outside.
mind,
and
yeah.
when you go out on the street, you don't actually see stuff happening, but it's happening all inside everything out
Well,
there.
like the building that we're shooting here, our studio, there's 70 spaces in the building. And I think quite a lot of them are artists and musicians and sculptors. And
Yeah.
just one big building sitting in Bushwick. And then if you were to be able to see inside all the spaces.
Yeah. And this
Um,
is one of many big
amazing.
buildings like this.
Mhm.
Some with even more, like those ones down the way that way. Those have like, what, hundreds of spaces in them? 200?
You're talking about
Some-
McKibben or something?
No.
There's
There's that big giant building which is just inside Queens. I forget.
Oh, I don't
just
know.
past the 499.
but some of them are
Yeah, you know
really
what?
crazy.
yeah,
17 Troutman, right?
Yeah.
That
That's
there
got
there
many
probably are
spaces
100
in
or
it.
2 spaces and maybe 200 spaces in that place. During
Yeah.
Bushwick Open Studios, that's really a good place to go because there's so much in one spot.
Yeah.
Isn't
you
it
could
strange?
Make that the whole thing.
Isn't it strange that it takes someone who's only been here 3 years to know much more about your own neighborhood than you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but that maybe says
in
something
general.
that is at the heart of that is that,
Yeah.
Katarina came here from somewhere else and her eyes were open to seeing it like, what am I looking at? And whereas a lot of people, I think, you're born here or you move in and you're
Yeah.
working and whatever you're thinking, and then do you ever really look around and see where you are? And, maybe it's just that alternate perspective, And I think that's Bushwick's an amazing place to kind of recognize where you are and like how kind of lucky in so many ways we are to be here. And you know, where I grew up in California, and you know the different places I've been, and a lot of my friends, you know, whether it's a small town or just being removed from being able to do anything, even in LA, it'd be 9 p.m. You're like, am I gonna go out and drive or what, you know? But right here, there's this kind of special place that you can always just go walking and you'll find something, you
That's
know.
true.
And it's pretty interesting, and the amount of creativity and street art and the music that happens, and New York in general, since I've moved here, has kind of blown my mind. But yeah, I really do feel very comfortable here now. I really love this neighborhood, so it's very cool.
Yeah, I always find it interesting that the people who grow up somewhere or live somewhere, they are immune to what's around them
Mhm.
Yeah.
in a way that they're so focused. You know, when we have a job and then someone says, you know, I came all the way from Brooklyn, and you're like, okay, that's a mile. You know what I mean? Like what a chore that was to get all the way here. From, you know, it's just like it's so aggravating just to get here. You know, like I had to slush through all these people and all the things that they're doing that don't interest me at all,
Right.
or I just want to, you know, put the blinders on and get somewhere. I always think that's interesting, especially being.
You find it interesting that people do that?
Yeah, I mean, they get so set in their ways that they're just fixated on the one task that they're doing, and they like, listen, there's 8 million people here. I can't be bothered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, let me
And
just get there.
I find myself slipping into that mode.
Sure, or
sometimes.
even like in neighborhoods, like when you're here, there's a specific neighborhood that you're familiar with or that you're used to, and you're just in. And then
Yeah.
when someone's like, "Oh, you want to come out to mine?" and you're just like, "Oh my God, how bad do I want to go to that shit?" You know, like just like it's a different train. I don't know. I don't see it happen.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, it's just
But
so.
it is extremely possible. It's not.
It's entirely
Make it
possible.
so
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you know, it could
way-
easily add
it's way-
3 extra hours
Yeah.
into your night that you didn't want to spend or whatever.
Yeah.
And, but
But-
what's funny is when it's the opposite, right? When it's like people trying to get you to come into Manhattan. Like, it's all happening here. This is where it's. And you're like, yeah, but.
I've learned that
Yeah.
they're lying when they say that, though.
Yeah. You're like,
Listen.
yeah, I go there to work.
Yeah.
all this
And then
stuff
when you
happens
get
all the
there, you're
time.
like, well, this better be amazing.
Yeah, right?
This better be the best thing I've ever done.
And there have been quite a few amazing events go down in Manhattan.
Oh, there's a
Yeah,
couple.
no, that's
I imagine.
Yeah.
There's a couple. There have been a couple
I
events
imagine
and-
I haven't been to any, but
true. I've heard it's a pretty swell place.
And there's, I've worked a lot of video gigs in Manhattan, and I like found myself working the weirdest, strangest gigs once in a while. Like,
Yeah.
we did, I think it was big cigar company was releasing a new cigar,
oh yeah,
and I didn't even know that happened. Like, what? Like the brand new cigar is released like at a big party, like
Was
an
it a-
album or
was
something.
it a Davidoff?
It was a Davidoff.
Send me something, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. And was it? I don't know. We don't know if it was yet.
oh, that was that. What,
It
that,
was, and it was amazing.
was it a Peruvian or
But
Argentinian?
I was in this place and I was shooting at this cigar event, and they had like a couple different
Nicaragua.
cigar rooms, and it was so smoky. It was like ridiculously smoky. My eyes were like burning, and
Yeah.
I've been in smoky clubs and
Welcome to 10
smoked
years
before
ago.
and stuff. And yeah, right.
When
exactly.
every place you went was
Everywhere.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
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 Oh my God.
But it was cigar smoke too, and they're celebrating it, so everybody has to have one, and then they
Yeah.
do a whole speech, and then all of a sudden everybody lights up, and I don't know, it was a very interesting event. I wish them and all their people the best. But it was very interesting
Yeah.
from a videographer's perspective, especially you're shooting with this camera that has an intake fan on it, and you're just thinking of all this like sticky cigar smoke going right through my camera.
Also, your
Yeah.
lungs.
Lungs, this camera, man.
This
it's-
camera's
this
really
body
expensive, but also
that has
your
this
whole
intake
lung,
device.
yeah, the whole breathing
Yeah.
system.
in my eyes and whatever, but the camera.
Yeah,
And I would have to go
this
outdoors.
thing's expensive.
There were people at the event hanging out and talking about how cool cigars were that were like, oh, God, I gotta get out of here.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
Well, no one intends
where's
to
the-
be there
Yeah.
for that
yeah,
long.
exactly.
If there's
But
too many,
they didn't
excited
do like
people there, it's
the
just
airflow
inevitable.
No
properly,
one wants to be in a terrarium.
right?
Just
Cigar
full of
terrarium.
Yeah.
That's that's perfect smoking club. You just named,
Oh,
just
my
nailed it.
God.
It's called terrarium.
Yeah.
The terrarium. You could do a bar like
Did you
that.
come here to breathe?
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
No one breathes here. Hey, do
Outside
we have
to
either
breathe.
of our next guests here? Are they?
I don't see them.
I don't
This
know.
But,
this was the first episode you'll catch me texting.
Is it?
And
we're quite
you know, because I
early
was
still.
texting, looking, texting other guests. And
Yeah.
so what else has been going on?
Texting guests.
Let's fill some time.
Yeah.
Do it.
Should we have Katarina back out to talk to us more? She, I don't know
Anything
if
you
she
wanted to
wants
clear up?
Like, it was so concise and it was a perfect segment and everything. So.
That's good.
Yeah.
Du-du-du-du-du-du. Yeah. So we're gonna invite out our next
Government
guest here in a minute.
We
What's that?
We
Is
have
that
that
right?
budget issue. Does anybody know any new updates on that?
Well, I feel like we
It's-
should save that for a whole show. I think we should have one show just dedicated to government. Just that. Like, we
Yeah.
should get somebody on that's actually studies, and
That's
we'll
what
talk
we'll
to us about
call
what's
the
going on.
last show.
Yeah, right. This happened to be the last show
Yeah.
of Inside
Yeah.
the Sulphurbath.
When you just hear like a pounding on the door, be like, "That's our time, guys."
Yeah.
And it's been great.
Yeah.
17 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
more,
run.
More
Yeah.
not to come.
We'll see you
Our
never
next
again.
guest is federal agent.
Yes. And he's just not funny about it at all. He's like, oh, man, turn that shit off.
Turn
We're
that
arresting
off
you
right
now.
It's done.
But
Shut
how
it
cool
down.
would that be? That would be a really good way to go
It
out.
would be.
you know, like,
It would have
Yeah.
a strong, cool factor.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of stuff about that I don't like.
Oh yeah.
like jail time, you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, imagine
I
if
don't
Jay
wanna-
Leno went out like with a stun gun and like and federal
Yeah.
officers went in there.
Oh,
like
like they
that
were
would be
stunning
like
him.
the final Tonight
Yeah.
Show. That would be great.
Yeah.
yeah, we're stunning.
Going out with
Yeah.
a bang.
It just goes down, and America cheers.
America cheers. Cool. So, guess what? The second guest on our show
Yeah.
is standing outside of our door, locked out of the studio, and I'm gonna go get them.
Wow.
All right, see you later, Mike.
That's a good way to do it. I mean, for the future, just have them on the outside. Hey, we should have a peephole cam.
Before. Oh, people like on the door.
Yeah, put a camera in the
who's
peephole,
outside.
and then you see the guest and be like,
Pizza
"Who's
guy?
there?"
Everybody should be
It's the
introduced
next
that way.
guest. Yeah, yeah. It's like Pee Wee's Playhouse or something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
That'd
That'd be lots of
awesome.
fun.
Our next guest is Mike. Oh, that's just Mike.
Not a guest, sir. Host. All right,
I
so
beg
we're
your
gonna
pardon.
go into our second segment here. We've got this really great artist, Sarah H. Reynolds, with us, and we're gonna invite her out. Sarah Reynolds, please come join us on Inside the Sulphurbath.
Sign in.
Sign in. Sarah, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah,
guys
very
doing?
good.
All
Thank you
right.
for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we just had a really cool segment with Katarina from Bushwick Daily, and just talking about kind of the scene in Bushwick and so much cool stuff happening, and like all the galleries and musical performances and all that stuff. So
yeah.
and part of what we're talking about is just kind of randomly running into people and networking and just meeting artists everywhere you go, and then sometimes being like totally blown away by stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to give that as the background to meeting you as my neighbor, just randomly running into you.
I know.
And checking out your artwork on your website, and just I was really impressed, and I wanted you to come on the show.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I actually had something really random happen recently, just like that.
Yeah.
Someone on Twitter was following me, and sometimes she like retweets or favorites some of my artwork, and I finally looked her up, and she owns a gallery in the 56 Bogart.
Oh, cool.
And I just had a studio visit with her like 2 hours ago,
Oh,
and she
cool.
finally came by. But I walked into her gallery, and I was like, "Hey, you don't happen to be Stephanie, do you?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "We're on Twitter and we interact." And she was like, "Are you Sarah?"
Oh,
and I was
interesting.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, "It's such a small world. You're just down the street, and it's finally nice to meet you." But
And taking
Who knows?
the Twitter universe to be able to
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah.
yeah.
And how it's
Cool.
expansive now in that way, right? Like, it's not just like bumping into somebody on the street or being neighbors or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. So is something going to go down there at her gallery then?
Well, we just met. Like, she just came and saw my artwork in person. They're moving spaces. She's in the basement of 56 Bogart, and now they're taking over, I feel like, for the Bogart Salon on the first floor. So we're discussing, I don't know if it's going to be a solo show or group show or whatnot, but we're definitely going to work together.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do you have a show going on right now?
I actually just did a collaboration. It's kind of random, but it was with the MLB.
Oh, really?
And we took it down recently, but it was at the space on Broadway and West 4th because I did an interactive exhibit about 4 months ago because I feel like music is directly related to fine art. So I did an interactive exhibit with them because music, most people don't think of baseball really relating to baseball relating to music. So
one of the curators that curates the space for the MLB Fan Cave came to my last show, and she really liked how we had hand-selected music that went with each piece of artwork, where people could actually listen to the music while they were looking at all the artwork. So the MLB Fan Cave is an interactive space where you can watch baseball, you can listen to music, and they actually have curated art shows with Mr. Brainwash and then Domingo Zapata.
Oh, cool.
In the last year or so, and she came, she was like, I really like this concept. Can we curate a show? So we had a silent disco at the opening where everybody got wireless headphones and could listen to each piece of music that went with the artwork. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And so it was up for 6 weeks, and we took it down about 2 weeks ago. So now I have a whole lot of artwork in my space.
I see.
Yeah.
I love those kind of interactive and conceptual showings, too. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I think that's where the art world really is going, where people are fusing fine art with fashion and music and even social media. I do some consulting work for a digital agency, and I've noticed that a lot of our partnerships we've done have been with fine artists, where a fashion brand will start creating textiles out of original pieces of artwork, or one of the exhibits will have some sort of fashion or music element to it. So I've kind of in my career taken the opportunity to create some sort of interactive element to all my shows, whether it is like I did a frame series. I turned all the frames into stationery and did a partnership with a big online site where they used my stationery during the holidays. And then with the music, I worked with a headphone company, and they actually put all the artwork on the headphones.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of funny to see everybody walking around with the artwork on their heads, listening to the music, and looking at the piece. So it was kind of meta in a way.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Like full circle.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. And so we brought a lot of, you brought a lot of images of your work that you're going to share with us. So we're going to start those in a second. And I think as you're talking about that, I think a lot of your work is really great. I think it would lend itself to, something in the fashion world, just a textile, the patterns and the textures and the kind of things that you're making.
Yeah.
But to me, I imagine, well, we're going to share with everybody, but I imagine it would be really difficult for a designer to take someone's art like that and to incorporate it in a way that isn't changing it or isn't that basically would do it justice, right? This has got to be tricky.
Yeah.
Like, how do we wear this? It's art. How do we wear it? There's this whole other element there that seems really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you take fine art to the commercial realm, you always have to be heavily involved in the process because it can easily be changed.
Right.
I mean, even, this is kind of random, but even with like framing your work, I know it's not taking it commercial, but I've noticed that when someone's collected my work and they frame it in a way that it completely changes it. So it's the same thing with changing, like taking one of my pieces and making it commercial. Like, it has to be done in a way that does me justice as well as the designer or company that takes a piece.
And I think the products that come out of that scenario the most successfully are the ones that do that, where you still see something from the artist that's not just like played by a company.
Right.
But obviously, it has to have this pragmatic sense to it too. And
yeah. Well, I mean, like, and that's also something you have to think about. I'm a young artist. I'm an emerging artist, and like there are so many opportunities out there. You have to be very selective with what you do, especially in the commercial realm, because you can easily be ripped off or taken advantage of where it's no longer you. Like, for example, I got asked by a pretty well-known brand, an international brand, to do a mural outside their store, and I was so excited because I love this brand. I wear it, and the picture they sent me as inspiration was nothing like what I do. And so I wrote them back. I was like, I'm really honored, but this is what I do. I do black and white work. They sent me this like star oranges and yellows and pinks. And I was like, I'm really honored you love my work. I would love to work with you in some capacity, but my work is charcoal. It's black and white. So if I was going to do a mural for you, it would be black and white. I'm not going to compromise my integrity as an artist just because I want to work with you.
Yeah, cool.
And it was really hard for them to wrap their head around that, and we ended up not working together. But I'm sure that happens a lot of times, and artists are willing to kind of bend and mold, and then they no longer really know what their identity is. And that's something I struggle with a lot because my work is sometimes hard to digest because it's black and white. And a lot of people gravitate towards color work because it's exciting, it evokes a lot of emotions, it can symbolize different things because of the color.
Mhm.
And I've had a lot of people say, why don't you do color work? Why don't you add color to your pieces? And I'm just like, it's not me. I have to stick to that. I can't do what you want me to do. I'm open to constructive criticism, but I'm not going to do color,
Yeah.
you know?
Cool.
'Cause that's what I'll be known for, and that's what I've noticed, that if I ever do, I did one piece in color that I wanted to do, sold it in a second, and people have inquired ever since, and I kind of regret that. But that was
So-
my choice.
So you'll never use color? Or at
I mean-
this point, you don't think you will?
At this point, I don't think I will. It's for me, I'll give you a little backstory. Growing up, I wanted to be a surgeon, so I was I'm very detailed oriented. I was actually OCD as a kid. And my mind works in proportions and numbers and science and anatomy. And so like, I think that black and white just makes sense from like a rational and like rationalizing things and working with my hands, that when I look at color, I'm almost overwhelmed and like, it's very off-putting to me. So for me to express myself as an artist just doesn't make sense in color. Like, I think the more you get to know me, like, I really only wear black and white. Things I gravitate towards clinical. And that's what I think of when I look at black and white work. It's clinical, it's clean, it's kind of OCD and controlled.
Right.
But that's an expression of me.
That's really great, and I love hearing how you're describing it. It sounds like you're standing your ground, and in doing so, you've come up with some great work.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
I was totally impressed. Yeah, we're gonna start going through that now. So, as everybody home is seeing this too, but they're also hearing us. Can you describe for us what we're seeing as we're seeing it?
Yeah. So this is actually my largest work to date. It's 77 inches by 53. It's all charcoal, which I actually blend by hand, which, if you can imagine, blending something that big using charcoal, it's very stressful and strenuous on my hands.
I can imagine. Yeah, I was wondering actually.
Yeah, I have to
So-
take breaks. But it's all about the paper and the movement. It's really involved. It's a process. I actually worked on this piece for over a year. And I'm really, it's as cheesy as it sounds, I'm really inspired by clouds in the sky, because I think that it works really well with charcoal because of the movement and the texture and the gradients you can get. But I still have this piece. It's over my bed, actually, because to me it symbolizes just like freedom and inspiration, and really highlights the medium well.
Wow, this one's really beautiful. So you were talking about being inspired by clouds. The first one was more of an abstract version of that, but what we're seeing now, it looks like a photograph of like the wispy clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
And something about, using, so clouds notoriously like a white, puffy, billowy clouds. But using charcoal when you're painting them here, the clouds aren't the negative space, so there's something about the dark cloud,
Yeah.
right? Like it's harboring a storm
Kind
or
of
something.
broody. I mean, I think one of my personal challenges with charcoal and clouds is trying to make it happy and light and almost dreamy, but as you said, it's the reverse. So like when you naturally think of dark clouds, you think of something sad or like a storm coming, but I've tried to make the texture and the whole mood of the piece almost light.
Yeah, this one's really successful with that because it seems like that nice summer day somehow. It's not like a brooding storm, but yeah, really beautiful. It looks like a photograph.
Thank you. So this piece, I actually get asked about this piece a lot. I sold it probably 3 years ago, and this really was a piece that I was expressing like a sadness. So it's the reverse of what I just said, but it really is like dark, almost like a storm coming, and just playing with the textures and the lines.
And how big is this one?
This piece is 32 by 40, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing around with the idea of doing an entire series of these clouds because there's something very simple and clean about it.
And this is, speaking of opposites or the reversal or something, this one is almost an opposite of that, but what's this one about?
I mean, they all go together in terms of the subject matter and the texture, but this was really thinking about the negative space and focusing on the center piece,
Mm-hmm.
which after I did this piece, I ended up doing a frame series where I was focused on framing. So I was drawing ornate frames that had negative space in the center. So as I was playing with the texture, and your eye just kind of goes into the circle in the center, and I really liked that element of taking a medium and drawing your eye to a space that was vacant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing there, but that's the attraction, nothingness. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
This piece, it's really interesting. I think my old apartment was haunted, and I was having nightmares where any setting I was in my dream, whether I was walking down the street in New York or I was at dinner with friends, a figure that looks just like this would overtake the dream every night for about a month straight, and I would wake up like scared. So I called one of my friends. I was like, I really don't want to, I don't know what to do. I'm a little frightened. And he suggested that I draw it, and after I drew the figure, it went away.
Wow. That's really
Yeah.
intriguing. So, I mean, when I first saw that one, it appeared very much to me like hair without a body, like this the evidence of growing and living a long life, but without the corporeal, you know.
Yeah,
And
I
that
love
that one, something about it, that one was spooky to me. And I don't know if it's just all
Yeah.
the weird horror movies I've seen or whatever, but something about that one, I was kind of like, what's going on with this one? And to hear your story about it,
Yeah.
opens that piece up to a whole other thing. That's really interesting.
I had a collector recently interested in that piece, and all my work is like wrapped in glycine and then labeled with a name on the outside. And that one, it's not called Nightmare anymore, but on the outside it says Nightmare. And he loved the piece, but as soon as he saw the label, he was like, I'm not gonna buy that because this is going in my bedroom, and the last thing I want is your nightmare to come into my home. So he
Wow,
was
yeah.
like, he bought something else. But
And
was
can
like,
I ask you about that, the experientially, as an artist that is making that and documenting it down, and then it went away, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that was more something like, even though this term doesn't exist, like psychochemical, or do you think this was a psychological thing that was happening, or do you
Yeah.
tend to think that there was something more going on, and this was a way of,
I definitely think it was something in my subconscious coming through in my dream, something that was like unresolved, and the fact that I made it tangible in the real world by drawing it and materializing. I think my mind was able to release whatever that figure was in my dream, and it just went away, I guess, in my subconscious and didn't come back. in
That's
my-
really fascinating me. I think that's really amazing and kind of like a microcosm of even though it sounds cheesy, of the power of art in general, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, something of catharsis and something of self-education, like learning about oneself through this mode of action, sometimes not even knowing, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, there was this pragmatic effect that happened, and even after you went through it as your personal experience, so many people are looking at that and being intrigued by it as well.
Yeah.
So how cool was that one?
Well, there's
I-
later you can when just in art in general, when you work on a piece, sometimes you can come back later and go, oh, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that actually recently happened to me with my series. That's why I chose these works, because I noticed that there was a cycle, because you saw a lot of like smoke and clouds, and then the next series you're about to see is the water, and then my last series is a series of balloons, so there's a sense of lightness. And I didn't make the connection of the clouds, water to like air until recently, when you asked me to send the images. I was looking at it, I was like, how weird is that? And I kind of realized that it had a lot to do with my old relationship, that OCD, I was like looking for things that were almost therapeutic and repetitive. So I was doing the clouds, and then the series you're about to see with the water, each panel took almost over 40 hours. So it was like very like almost masochistic in the technique and the work and the detail. And then now that I'm like the best version of myself and super happy I'm no longer in that relationship anymore, I'm drawing balloons. So they're like light and childlike and happy, and like it isn't looking back over time, over a body of work that's been going on for 2 and 3 years, that I'm like, wow, there's like a theme that was materialized from my subconscious, and like the feelings that I weren't able to express came out on paper without me even.
Wow, that's great.
It's funny
And-
for something that's like something that you think is controlled. The subject matter is things you can't control.
Right.
Clouds, water.
Mhm.
These are elements that you have no
Physics
control
of a
over.
balloon. Yeah.
They go
Yeah.
wherever they want to go, and you've
And-
got no control over them. You can only represent them.
And also the process behind it, what you're describing is the process of the cycle of water vapor. And there's just something very interesting to me about that it's like you put them all together and then it becomes this other thing, this story in context. And I love how aware you are about it, that as you're doing it, right, it seems like you're quite aware of this is what I'm going through as I'm making this work. And I think that adds this really cool element to it as well.
Yeah, and then looking back at the pieces, the meaning changes, even though I thought I was as aware of as I at the time thought I was feeling or whatever, and now
Mhm.
looking back they've kind of changed and mean something different than they did before.
And what's a balloon but mastering air?
I know. And
Yeah.
floating, it's just existing.
And can you share what's this series here that we're seeing now? This is
So this is called Underneath the Surface. I came up with the title way after the series, just water panels. But this was about changing the technique and focusing on details and really creating pieces that were almost graphic. This piece is, I think, 72 inches by 42. It's just a zoomed in crop of several inspiration images of water. So I really wanted to create a body of work that had a lot of movement.
mm-hmm.
And then this is 7 panels that are each 53 inches by 16. Each one is a detailed shot of water, each playing with movement, the texture of charcoal, manipulating what the actual image is, because some people look at it and they're like, what is this? Is this rock? Is it a pattern? Is it water? And it's funny when people say to me, oh, it looks like water. Have you ever thought of that? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's exactly what it
No,
is.
Cool.
And it's also interesting when you create something so busy and so graphic, everybody wants to see a face in it. I've noticed that people walk up and they're like, oh, I see a face or I see an animal. I think that's just like natural when someone is faced with something that's very foreign to them and they don't really understand what it is. They want to recognize someone or something.
Yeah, just
in
a
it.
brain trying to make logical sense of
Yeah.
what it's seeing. And
Seeing order and chaos, you're just trying to figure how do you relate.
so
Just a
do you
familiar
never
face.
intend on anything like that, or because
No, not intentionally, but if you saw a lot of this work in person, I'm pretty sure you'd find a face.
There was one of them
Yeah.
where I was like, this is
I mean, it's
sultry. She
clearly
did
a
this
party clown in
intentionally.
that
Yeah,
one.
no.
I was already thinking that on one of them. But at the same time, bringing it back to water and just how unique water is and how it's so adaptable to so many situations. And you're showing us these glimmers on the surface of water, but there's turbulence, I see. And so it's you're looking at the turbulence of water and you want to see a face, or you want to see something. Your brain is trying to make sense of actually turbulence.
Yeah.
And it creates this whole broader story of you as an artist.
Well,
Yeah.
I was telling Stephanie earlier that in my situation, I feel like I was so ignorant to like how almost unhappy I was that I like turned to my art to express something, thinking that I was utterly happy and like fluid and moving. And when I looked at the work, I was calmed by it because I'd put so much effort and time into the actual piece. But looking back on it, when I heard someone say, oh, it seems kind of violent or angry, I was always very defensive. And now looking back on it, I see it. It's very aggressive and angry and almost stressful to look at a bit. But I love the way it looks together because it's so representative of what it was in my life. And I don't know, it shows how much energy and time I put into these pieces.
Yeah.
They're almost like little pieces of me and what I was trying to avoid at that time.
Mm-hmm. And that's this is such deeply personal. I mean, talking to you about the work
Yeah.
now, it's such deeply personal work. And again, I think it's quite noble that you have this awareness about it and you're talking to people about it. Because I think a lot of times, really great artwork that is personal like this, the stories get lost, and people don't get that deeper meaning that's behind it. And you're kind of unraveling this story about the elemental changes of water, and not telling us, but showing us in this subtle way through your artwork. And I don't know, I think that's really great.
Yeah. I mean, and I also think, like, a lot of times artists, and I do it too, you choose a concept and you stick to it and don't let yourself express something that you're not able to say with words. And with all the work I've shown you, I've literally just sat in front of a piece of paper and just started working with the charcoal and maybe had a slight idea of what I wanted it to end up. And I think that's been really amazing and almost therapeutic for me as an artist and a person to just kind of let it flow and let it go. And then looking back, I'm able to talk about it. Because if you had asked me about this work a year ago, I might not have been able to articulate what it meant and like what it was as well as I am today.
I was getting that perspective on it and the hindsight that
Yeah, some artists don't like to do that at all, though.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
like,
and
don't
I
look
understand
back.
that. They're just like, it is what it is. I would rather not go into it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, you tell me what you think, I'll listen. But
Well, I think it's interesting to ask an artist, what does this mean? Because doesn't that defeat the purpose in some sense?
Yeah.
If that's your purpose, you know, this is how I'm expressing it. I'm not telling you about this. I could just tell you about it. That's what I would do.
And I think some artists might not really know what it means or what it was intended for.
like maybe it's subconscious the whole time, or
Yeah.
but there's this whole thing about this whole new language that comes about that I think is really always fascinates me with this kind of thing, is because it's maybe a little bit more apparent in music that, oh, this is a language and these musicians are talking to each other and stuff, but what's the conversation that's going to be had with an artist? And there's like basically this two-way street. So you put something down, but I'm standing in front of it and I'm receiving it, so that could grow into a whole expansive conversation.
well,
of
it's
course,
just just art in general is only completed when there's a viewer. I mean, there's a timeline from conception to creation to the viewer actually viewing it and picking up what they were putting down, and there's a timeline,
and then
you can see
copying it onto DVD
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
And so we're about to see this. There, you have this other piece that it's, I don't know, is this a symbol for like the man's bathroom or man in general? This
Person.
It is. I don't know. I think it sounds really cheesy, but like because of my relationship, I've been thinking a lot about like men in general and like what they symbolize and what their purpose is, and kind of like letting go of any negative feelings I have or
Thank
stuff.
you.
What?
Thank you.
And I mean, and also like I feel like in New York it's so challenging
We're doing our
dating.
best.
And I think people just take everything so seriously and like try to overanalyze things. So I wanted to simplify a person, a man, and I took the most simple symbol. And applied the same techniques that I used in the water panel series. So it's almost like internalizing like my experience and applying the same technique to create something recognizable. Because I also want to do that, box it in, and like give someone a symbol that they recognize. And it's been interesting because people have really reacted to this piece, which I did in the last month. And I think a lot of it has to do is like with the simplification of it. It's not a panel that you have to digest. It's a symbol.
How large is it?
That piece is actually pretty small. I think it's 18 by 24 maybe, which is small for me.
Yeah, there's something that was a double take image to me, where it was like, oh, you think you saw it, and then, oh, wait, look again, kind of thing. And there's something to like kind of, and again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like, this is taking my perspective and trying to analyze.
No,
I'm totally
I'd
wrong.
love
probably,
to hear
but
your thoughts.
there's something Dr. Frankenstein about this one to me. The Frankenstein is not the monster. That was the doctor. The monster was just monster.
So which
Sorry.
one is it, the monster or doctor?
I'm getting
Yeah, you said Dr.
like you're
Frankenstein.
the doctor.
Okay.
Like this
yeah,
formation or what's the word? The golem, like the whole, the old, really ancient, ancient. Yeah, I'm getting off course of the golem
that's
and
the
creating
golem, yeah.
Yes.
There's something about
There
that
is
I
a
see in
story
this
about
one that I think is very cool. But it's again doing it through your own incantation of it in your own style. But there's how you describe this is what's most fascinating to me actually about doing these discussions with artists on the show is that I get this, what's your perspective of it, and talking to an artist, describing their work versus just seeing it and what I'm going to take from it. And so to me, that's been such a cool, rewarding, thing about, interviewing people on the show and the artwork and how vastly different that could be. And then, at the same time, sometimes how it's like right in line with what I'm thinking. This shattered fragments of water encompassed in the symbol of a
Inside a
man.
man.
And there's something that it's the symbol, it's the universal symbol too, right? Like is this an owned copyrighted symbol, or how does that
I don't think they can do that with icons.
can it, is
How
it
would they do that?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there
Somebody'd make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Those bathroom signs can only be produced by one person.
right, but who makes them? Who's the committee that decided that that's what that would be? And
I don't know.
Who knows?
yeah.
I think that stuff like that, specifically a symbol like that, got just used at one point, and then everybody kind of agreed, yeah, that's the right
Yeah.
one. That one reminds me of man. That's the bathroom. I'm
it
going
reminds
in.
me of man without a neck.
And
But
there
we
have
didn't mean
been
to
a
talk
lot of
about this
symbols
earlier.
that are pretty funny. Have you seen any in like international airports? It's like a man like
Oh yeah.
holding his crotch, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
means like bathroom.
Bathroom
or,
is
like-
Oh, really?
I saw
Feeling
one.
like this. Here's where you go.
Yeah.
I saw one that was like it's supposed to symbolize changing room for a mom, but it was a symbol of a stick figure with like a weird looking baby figure like laying on its back, but it actually kind of looked like someone taking advantage of a small person,
yeah.
not changing a person. So maybe that's what I should start drawing. I should
changing
start
them all.
internalizing
Wait, is this
that.
guy-
Extreme change.
Is this like is his body made of water?
I think it's more like it's internal, not his body's made of it. It's inside of him. I guess if you were getting like a slice of who this person is, I guess I'm also projecting onto the simplification of
Mhm.
a man.
Are we seeing it photographed at an angle, or is there these specific parallel lines giving it dimension?
Yeah, you're seeing it as at an angle
Okay,
because
gotcha.
I haven't photographed it for my website yet, so it's laying down.
Did this show at a gallery or something like that? Was this all part of a show?
No, this piece is brand new. Like I just
cool.
started working on this. I'm planning on doing probably like 10 to 12 male symbols with different textures and different techniques implied within the symbol.
Don't hang it on a door.
What?
Yeah.
Don't
Don't hang it on a door.
No.
Maybe I'll replace the symbol and they'll be more exciting in texture on the male bathroom.
Yeah.
I would
be cool.
much rather see that.
It's a party inside.
That'd be awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Now, this one I was also, I must say, super intrigued by. And I totally, when I first saw it, when you emailed this to me in thumbnail version, I was really like, oh, wow, what a cool photograph of 4 balloons. And I really I was totally duped by it. This was Trompe l'oeil at its finest. And I was even like analyzing, the lighting, did they have like a quad light, and what kind of video lights were they using, And then I opened up the file and looked at it. I was like, oh my God, it's a drawing.
Surprise!
But yeah, that is really cool. And this brings it full circle kind of to what we were talking about a little bit ago about the lightness of these balloons. And but yeah, can you tell me about the process for this one, and how old is this work? And
This work is, I showed 2 pieces from this series. There's 5 balloons now. But it really is representative of the lightness of me and my life right now. And I also wanted to play around with the idea of a black balloon, like mostly because I work in charcoal, but I also wanted to see if I could make a black balloon light with the texture and the technique, because you don't really see black balloons. You see bright red balloons and colorful balloons, and you think of childhood and parties.
I think of red a lot.
Yeah.
Red balloons.
Yeah, I normally see red balloons too. But I'm challenging people to look at it and see a balloon and feel light, even though they are solid and floating.
and so heavy in the darkness of the charcoal and everything.
Yeah, you've mentioned that you thought they felt heavy, right?
Oh yeah, in the email I did say that. Yeah, there was something about that that's really caught me, that they seem so heavy, but
How
they're
are they
balloons and they're
floating?
floating, and there's almost like this optical illusion thing going on.
Yeah. It might be interesting to turn them upside down and see what that does, if they
mhm.
become like drips or heavy balloons that are floating
drips,
down.
yeah, interesting.
Are these on
Mhm.
individual strips?
Yep.
Because when just the way that it's viewed, the fact that there's strips make it look like there's threads that the balloons are fastened to.
It's interesting you
Mm.
say that
Mm.
because I've been playing around with the idea of actually using string. Because now when I finish the balloon, I do draw a black string coming from the bottom. But I bought string and I've been playing around with like glue and different techniques of fastening the string on the actual drawing without damaging it. And I would love to do an installation on a massive wall where all these balloons are kind of floating and scattered, and then all of them had real string coming from it and were tied in the same corner. So it's almost like balloons
Oh, cool.
scattering and floating, and it would be a whole wall of them.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. The surface that they were on. And do you always use the same paper? And
Yes.
Yeah. Are you pretty
I've-
strict as far as your methodology with how you work?
No color.
I used to be OCD, so yes, I buy rolls of Arches cover paper in 10 yards, and I cut. And I used to buy 53-inch, which is really wide, and a lot of people would ask me how I got paper that big, because I used to buy sheets, and then I found this roll of 53-inch paper, and I could make a drawing that was 10 yards long and 53 inches wide,
cool.
which is pretty insane. I think it would be a lot of time and effort and money to frame a piece that big, but it's definitely going to
I can
happen one
imagine.
day.
Yeah, cool. Super cool. Yeah, excellent. And so, is anything else coming up? You got any exhibitions or anything like that soon in the future? Or
I'm actually working on a piece for Art Basel. I did 2 pieces last year for a documentary that was shown at the Young Arts Foundation. And then this year, I'm working with one of my friends that's doing an installation about the green movement and pollution. So I'm working with him to do a piece that's going to be shown at the end of the installation.
Oh, cool.
So I know time's ticking and I have a couple months, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll have something at Art Basel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when we put the archive up on the show, we'll put the links to that and everything if you would like to
Yeah.
try to spread the word on that some more.
Definitely.
But yeah, very cool. It's our pleasure to see your work. I really love it. I hope you come back on the show at some point.
Yeah.
We're going to do a big 25th episode party where we invite all the guests back from previous shows and show anything that's new and give updates. So hopefully
Where
you'll
are they
come
now?
dazzle us again.
25 weeks.
Where are they now? 10 weeks later, yeah.
Well, you know where I live.
Right? Right across the hall, like bang on the wall.
Yeah.
All right,
You
so
can throw me an airplane out the window and it'll come in mine.
I always wonder about that. You know, just to explain to folks at home, we have these kitty corner windows like this, and sometimes they'll like wake up. Both windows have this paranoia. They're like, oh, my neighbor thinks I'm watching them, or oh my God, my neighbor's watching me. You know, because our windows they look at each other, and it goes both ways for me. These guys over here, I'm like,
Yeah.
I look out, I'm like, oh wait, do they see me? And there's this, you know. Anyway, so
Are you a peeping Tom? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
not yet. I'm wondering if you are though. I there's some
Maybe.
mornings. But you know, it's just like one of those, you know, feelings of like, oh well, if she ever sees me, if she knows I'm just like looking out the window.
One day you're going to see me and I have a pad of paper and charcoal and I'll be drawing you.
Catching you, Matt.
I would be so honored. And it's all me like.
Maybe
hungover,
that will
happen. Cool. Anyway, Sarah H. Reynolds, thank you so
Yeah,
much for coming
thank
on
you
the
for
show and
having
sharing
me.
your work with us.
Nice
Nice
Very
to meet
cool.
you guys.
Yeah.
Sarah Reynolds, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, so we're going to switch over right now and invite out our musical guest for the evening.
Yes.
Now, is he going to play?
And he's going to
Or is he
perform.
going to
Mhm.
talk first?
Well, let's ask him. Would you want to do an interview with us and let us talk to you first, or do you want to perform first, and then maybe we can talk to you after that? Or do you not? Or do you just want to perform? Or cool.
All
I think
right.
that's a good one. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, so he's going to do a
Yeah.
performance. All right, so we have Honne Wells, and he's going to join us right now with a live musical performance. So bear with us.
Yeah.
Just going to take us
Yeah,
just
go home,
1
set up,
minute
we'll
to
talk.
set up.
We'll set up.
And, you know, you guys will discuss in the
Yeah, we'll
meantime.
I'm not going to call
Get out of
it
your mic.
killing time. This is actually the part I look
Yeah,
forward to
this
in the
is the
show.
part of the
Most of the
show
people who
that's-
tune in, this is what
If
they're
this
looking
has all
forward
been
to.
building up to
This is it.
at this point.
Hey, now that they're all gone, guys, this is the show you want to be a part of. This is Sulphurbath Inside.
Yeah. So, So you haven't been here for the last couple of weeks.
I have not. 2 weeks ago, I died.
And you've been recovering.
I'm
from
feeling
that.
much better now.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're back.
I know I had an illness. I was feeling a little. Now I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm glad I'm back.
Anything I should be worried about? I've been sitting next to you this whole time.
No. Want to switch mics?
Want to share my drink? Borrow your
Hey.
toothbrush.
Hey, this mic tastes funny. What do you think? Okay. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, musical guestitude. What have you been up to? Good stuff?
I've been,
Keep it clean.
yeah, I've been doing good stuff. I've been staying awake too much. I think I'm giving up on sleep. I recognize how good it is for me, but haven't been doing much of it
I
recently.
remember being a kid. I was like a teenager, and I thought, man, robots have it so good
They could just be awake
all the time. They get so much done.
Yeah. But you know, how many things?
What are the kids inside?
How many stories about the great thing that a robot did have you heard?
There's the one
Right?
that I don't have to bring up because we all know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But that wasn't a robot. That was just a computer. But that wasn't a robot.
Yeah, man.
We back.
Yes. We back.
Honne Wells. Very fucking cool, man.
You know, you're gonna hear something different than what we heard today.
What's that?
You're gonna hear something different than what you heard today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was different. Man, I love that. The piece you were doing, like,
Yeah.
who's called you a bum? The last piece you did, man, that's really cool. There's something. First of all, we should explain that there's probably something different going on when we see you live and we're here hearing you in the room than what people are hearing at home. And so there's this bleed from hearing you actually singing in the room
Technical
to
shit.
hearing what you're singing into the guitar.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that this is a very interesting crossover of what was happening between what I'm hearing in the headphones and what I was hearing here in the room. You have something that's in your live performance that seeps out is you actually singing and hearing the texture of your voice that I don't know if it would be exactly captured in a recording the same way. But that was super cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your history and like how you started and what brought you into Bushwick and playing music? We've played a few sets together. How did you start? When did you start doing music?
Baltimore.
Baltimore? Is that where you're from originally?
No. I was there only a handful of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I met some good people,
Mm-hmm.
supportive people. Yeah,
And so, how long have you been here in New York?
going on 7 years.
7 years. That's about amount of time I've been here too. Yeah. Where are you from originally, Hank?
I traveled around a lot as
Yeah.
a kid,
Okay.
primarily the Bible Belt South.
Mm-hmm. And you're playing a show coming up soon too, right? You've been I see a couple different shows that you've played, right?
I do believe so.
Is there something specific that we can share with folks that's coming up soon, or
Nothing I can think of.
nothing? Okay. We did play a show last Monday night at Goodbye Blue Monday that was pretty cool. And that was curated by Paradise Club. And the couple times I've seen you play, that it has been their shows. And I believe you're friends with that band. And so the first few times I've seen you out, it was totally radically different even than what you did tonight. And so do you have like a whole variation of different things you'll do, or are you sticking with a certain style these days? Do you always play the same instruments?
No. No. It depends on how you feel.
Mm-hmm. And how did you feel tonight? Can I pry a little bit about what the feeling was behind the performance tonight?
I haven't hooked that guitar up in a long time, and
Mhm.
so it sounded fine. It sounded like I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I was excited about that.
The song itself,
Oh,
was that?
the Hall. Who said I was a bum? In the 20s and 30s, around the Depression era, they had a lot of bum songs recorded. Put 2 bum songs on a side, and you can sell it as a bum album, as your job.
But is there respect to being a hobo and not a bum?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
yeah.
Precursor to the Hallelujah, I'm a bum.
yeah.
So it's kind of a call and response to that. I imagine that genre is small.
The Hallelujah I'm a Bum genre.
Yeah.
Well, there's probably a lot of those songs, but you don't get to hear them much.
No, they don't get recorded as often.
Probably not.
There's
As
probably not
much.
as much capital behind it. to
Was that
actually
like
get them.
a standard or is it original or
Standard.
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's it come?
A little bit,
Yeah.
my own tears
Yeah.
from that
It's okay.
performance,
You're
which
not a
moved
bum.
me
You're
so
not
much.
a bum. You're not a bum.
Can I ask you about the affectations you add to your sound? Was that something that you kind of have always experimented with, or was there a certain stage you went through and suddenly your music changed, or do you have like past history in folk and then you went kind of?
I started off in a noise band in Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been a long time looking at the aspects of what I do acoustically and pit it against the sound that I create. I like creating
Mm-hmm.
in a recording.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, performance is just the means to get to the thing that you want, which is sound. In this case.
Something that's not always recognized.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're pretty close to that? Satisfied with?
Oh yeah.
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 Super cool.
I could tell because I listened to my shit 5 years later, and I'm excited about it.
Oh, cool.
It still excites
Yeah,
me.
that's a great sign.
Yeah.
And do you do your own recording?
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw. Did you have a recording with you today? Did you have something?
I do.
Can we talk
It's,
about that? Is that your new recording or?
It's the last thing I recorded and put out.
Awesome! Wow. The Goodbye Niagara Suite.
Yep.
A Farewell in 5 Moments. By, is it Honne Wells?
Yep.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Yeah. 2010. Okay, cool. Write Me. And this seems so vintage. And there's something. I'm a big, fan of Harry Smith. I love the folk anthology. I love all that old folk music. And I feel like there's a lot of that stuff on the Harry Smith collection and Lomax's stuff that he's collected that comes off so postmodern and strange in some way, but it is like the true authentic stuff. Basically, a lot of that authentic stuff is a lot weirder and a lot stranger in its effect and how it was recorded. These old wire recordings, recorded on wire, it would break and they would tie a knot in it to fix it, and then you'd hear the bump of the knot
Lose a second.
And I think a lot of that stuff, when I first started getting into it, it surprised me to see like how kind of avant-garde a lot of those people were. And I think that a lot of times they get just grouped into kind of like this. So they were the folk people that had these technologies and they played guitar, some banjo. And basically, long story short, what I'm saying is I feel like some of the stuff that you're doing today is probably a lot more authentic to a lot of the great thinkers that were in that era, turn of the century, writing songs, and then the next couple decades after that. And then to see you hand me a disc like this, and it even visually, it's kind of stunning. It looks like it's some presentation of that time. Do you guys want to check this out? We don't have close-ups with the camera, but we can. We've never done this, like holding up a thing.
I know.
There it is.
Object, yeah.
Honne Wells recording.
It's an object.
And can people find your recordings online? Can they get them? And no.
No.
Is there any digital stuff at all online that we can check out, or how do people get to hear more stuff other than just what you performed?
Search.
Yeah.
It says right. It says,
Yeah,
it says
search
Write
for it.
Me.
Oh, does it?
On the other side.
Oh yeah, it's called Write Me. Yeah.
So how does somebody get
Write 'em a
this
letter.
this album if they want it?
He said search.
Search.
I think that's the best
The
answer.
world?
Of,
There are no limits to that.
Well,
Alright.
you don't have to do the world. He's right there.
Well, yeah. I don't have it.
yeah, you don't have to go through everybody in the world to get to Honne Wells
This
here
is-
right now.
We can narrow it down to there.
Over there.
And so, there's, I don't know, there's something very mysterious about what you're doing. And I really like it. It's really intrigued me at all the shows that we've played with you and that we've seen you play. And we hope to see you again play for sure. Do you want to go into, I'm totally a gearhead and I love all the stuff that I'm seeing over here. I'm wondering about your pedals and stuff. Do you even want to go into that, or is that?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Secret formula stuff. So don't even. Yeah.
Just
What kind of
pedals.
guitar are you playing there? You said you hadn't plugged that thing in a long time.
Yeah.
Is it an old guitar? Is it vintage? It looks like it is.
Yeah, it's an old one. I picked it up in Baltimore.
And very unique. I think the video is very unique also. Just the style of how you're singing. You're singing into your guitar, and it's like, what is he doing exactly? But I think it sounded great. Very charismatic and very unique texture and timbre you're getting out of your stuff. I really love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us. Honne Wells, thank you very
Yeah,
much for coming on the
thank you.
show and performing and playing for us. Very cool. So Write Me. I want to listen to this. Hopefully he'll stick around a little bit so we can listen to this as well.
Does it say "Write Me" on it?
It's
Yeah.
called Write Me. Goodbye,
I
Niagara
thought,
Suite.
I thought that was like a directive to write.
It might
to-
be as well.
to you.
It's
And I was going to give the
mysterious, I'll
address
tell you
if that was possible, but
Yeah.
is it not there?
There's actually nothing inside it.
Oh, yeah, right. It could be. Very cool. Yeah, that was good. So we've had so many cool musical performances on the show at this point, and I'm really feeling good about kind of the variation of things that we've had, right? Like,
It's great. Yeah. No, I love it. Every single thing has been different or
Every
interesting.
single thing has been
and
different, yeah.
Yeah. It's really
Mhm.
great.
Yep, and it's a wide range of stuff, and I
This
hope
is
we keep.
episode 16.
matching
The album
that.
should be out shortly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were
Probably have
suggesting that as
enough
like
tracks
we
to-
should make like a collab album
That would be
of
great.
all the guests that have been on the show and like
If we
put out
could,
stuff.
that'd be awesome.
We'd have to write to them all and say, hey, can
Sulphurbath
we? Of
super
course.
split.
Yeah.
Super split.
Yeah.
How about super sessions?
I don't know.
Episode
I like
25
my
is
name
a big
better.
one.
That's gonna be a huge one, man. We're
Yeah.
gonna maybe we might even. Yep, I think we're gonna light off some bottle rockets. It's gonna be that cool of an episode.
I like how I heard the thought process going on.
Yeah, there's
I think we
stages
may.
of it.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, it's
gonna
definitely
happen.
gonna happen. Cool.
Yeah.
And nobody will be injured with those because we're gonna shoot them off indoors,
Of
away from
course.
people.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
yeah, very cool. So what a great show. Yes, I want to thank Katerina Hibenova for Bushwick Daily. That was a really great segment. And everybody should check out Bushwick Daily on a daily basis if they have not been.
Make it your homepage.
Make it your homepage. Make it a button on your Finder.
Yes.
Make it a toolbar
Save it to your home
Bookmark it.
screen.
on your iPhone. And then every day. So that was really great. Sarah H. Reynolds and sharing her art with us. That was really great. I want to thank
Yes.
Sarah. And Honne Wells, thank you very much for the performance. That was really cool stuff. And right now, yeah, we're going to say goodbye and end with our little improvised jam, right, that we always do.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You guys got any ingredients to add to the pot here, or anything I missed?
Any
or
ingredients?
Guys,
Yeah.
episode 16.
Thanks for
Join us next
listening.
week, episode 17, and into the future. I want to thank all our guests, and
Yes.
yeah, tell these guys to have a good night.
And dive into the archives. See what you find.
Sulphurbath Productions. Dope nights, doing things daily. This is more of a spoken word. Glass angles and faceted precipices seen in different views. There's a new thing to do, and that's be you. There's a truth that you should see inside, and if it's like smokes drawn with charcoal lines, it'll still rattle thoughts from your bottom to your mind, straight from your spine. It's like line by line, we do these things and then we change with time, like seasons, like waves crashing into the beach. A foundation changes if it's built in the sand. I never woke up with a plan, but I go to sleep knowing that tomorrow I have to be a better me than I was yesterday. There's things that I have not yet said, but have been said to me, and I've turned and I've looked at them and said, maybe I should be a little bit more like who I want to be instead of who you chose for me. I do dope things nightly in Bushwick daily. So if I'm blogging about it, you should say, hey B, maybe I should tune in and check that every chance I get. Because these flows and these rhymes, they come without a sweat, because I'm surrounded by energy, and energy so precious to me that I don't even want to touch it, I'll just let it be. Float like balloons, drawn, gone, John, talking things, and I might not be able to afford 5-cent gum. I might not have been grown up in anywhere less than a slum, but you best believe I ain't a bum. No way, Jose. You don't want to believe the things foes say, because if the truth ain't in your face, it's behind you. Look behind you and find that you will be there, or you'll be square. Sometimes thoughts just run through my mind, and I said tonight I'm not gonna drink. Tonight I'm not gonna have no Zachariah whiskey. Tonight I'm just gonna let things swift through my mind and let me go like that wind blowing, like that wind going, like that light glowing in my eye. Maybe I can't see that far out into the distance, but I know there's a horizon that I have to chase, and there's a truth I have to face, and there's a past I cannot escape. So let it be. Yeah. Run a mile, run a moment, run your mouth. Flow like water in and out. There's no path to what you've never heard before. Words, smoke weed like a herbivore, the way I consume grass. But I'm too light-minded to fall on my ass, so if that didn't make sense, make time to make sense. Burn some sage, turn your page, do a different thing each day. You don't have to believe in God to pray. Yeah, so much left unsaid and so much more to say. Inside the Sulphurbath, episode 16. Sweet as it is, each day is a gift. So it's highlighted in capital letters. Don't bite me, just write me. Don't strike me, just love me. Embrace me, hug me. Show that I'm more than just a face smudged on the portrait of life. Show that I'm more than just a body on the floor, wet, waiting to be stepped over. Show that I know how to have soul without being a soldier. Show that when I draw, it's not from the holster. It's from the pen on pad, from the ink on, from the ink on, from the ink on, from the ink on, gone. This is real serene right now. I'm feeling this. Yeah. There's less bass, but I still feel my heart's percussion. I'm lost in thought and I'm sitting in front of a mic. feeling alright.